Question number 2, why are relationships so difficult? I don't know. I wish I knew. It's called sin, that's why. Here's the real challenge actually. The Bible says the heart of man is desperately wicked. Who can know it? And the challenge is, we don't even know our own hearts. And then we get around other people who are broken, who are sinners just like you and I are, who are selfish, who are insecure, who are terrified, who are ambitious. All of this stuff goes on. And it's like we're living on different planets, kind of like shouting at each other at times, or really trying our best to communicate things. And so often, it's really like somebody writing a text message. If I was to write you a text message right now, I think I know what I mean, even though that's doubtful. There's what I mean to say, there's what I actually say, what I set down in the text of the message. There's what you read, and then there's what you understand from what you read, which is filtered through a million other things. We don't see people as they are. We see people as we are. So how do we learn to do relationships well? Number one, this sounds negative, but I think it's actually really empowering to know if we'll actually start, if our premise is relationships are really, really hard. Most of us don't want to accept that. Most of us want to live with this fallacy that relationships are really easy, and then we blow from one to another, and we keep being surprised by why we always fall over and there's breakup. If we'd actually start by saying, this is really, really difficult. I'm probably going to get this wrong. The other person's probably going to get this wrong. The only way of doing this is having a whole load of grace. Yeah, so start with the fact that this is difficult, number one. Number two, I think we should just come to relationships with a great deal of humility. I don't think I know anybody who doesn't think they're good at relationships. And I don't think I know anybody who's good at relationships. My point is, we all have this tendency to think we're good at this, and we're not that good at it. So start with just a lot of humility. Start by really pressing into being humble, being you, taking your time. I think thirdly, we should over-communicate, and then we should over-communicate, and then communicate some more. And by that, one thing that's really helped me as a pastor, as a leader, is I never, ever have discussions with anybody by text message, not really by email if I can help it. I don't even really do them by phone or by Zoom or by those things. Occasionally I'll have to. I was going to meet some folks while I was here in France, and they live about 4 hours drive away, so it was an 8 hours drive. And in the end, I'm like, hey, we'll do a Zoom thing. It's so much easier, I know. But I know there's just nothing like being in the room with somebody, the body language, feeling their heart, taking the time. There's actually something really powerful when we say to somebody, hey, I'm willing to drive hours and hours and hours and pay current gas prices and all sorts of things, and put value on this relationship. And I think if we want relationships to go well, we really want to communicate. And of course, communicate doesn't mean being quiet while you think of the next thing you're going to say. It really means listening. At times it means repeating back to the other person what you think you've heard and letting them affirm that. And really just, most of us need to communicate about 10 times more than we think we do. It's really important. Hey, my last thought about relationships would be this as well. I think relationships are like a garden, and we need to sow, we need to water, we need to cultivate. Sometimes if you have everything right in a garden, you can roll for a few days, a few weeks, you can go with that, and it will be well. But you've got to stay on top of it. You've got to keep sowing into them. You can't assume, well, this relationship was great 10 years ago, so it will stay that way. No, we've got to constantly sow into these things. Boom. So just some thoughts on relationship.